UEFA Champions League finals are the peak of club football. The stakes are at their highest, the margins for error are at their lowest, the quality of football is at its very best, and the drama is at its craziest. We have got to witness quite a few dramatic Champions League finals, but none as dramatic as the 2005 final. Guys, what happened in this UCL final will leave you speechless. This was a game between the two best teams in the world. You have AC Milan, who beat Barcelona, Manchester United, Inter Milan and PSV on their way to the final. And Liverpool got past Bayer Leverkusen, Juventus and Chelsea. So you could say that both these teams earned their place in the Champions League final. Also, when you looked at the quality of players on both sides, you could already tell that this game was going to be one for the books. AC Milan had Dida, Cafu, Stam, Nesta, Maldini, Pirlo, Kaká, Seedorf, Gattuso, Shevchenko and Crespo. This was a team that was stacked from back to front, all-timers. And then they were being coached by the man himself, Carlo Ancelotti. Liverpool, on the other hand, didn't have as many big names, but they still fielded some superstars. They had Steven Gerrard, Xabi Alonso, Jani Carragher, Sami Hyypiä, John Henrys, Djibril Cissé, and they were being managed by Rafael Benitez. AC Milan went into that game as favourites, not just because they had bigger names, but also because they had experience at this level. They had just won the Champions League 2 years prior, while Liverpool had not touched the trophy since 1984. In fact, in the 21-year period between that final and Liverpool's last Champions League success, Milan had won it 4 times and were the second most successful club in the competition's history. So they were always going to be favourites. And they indeed came into that game as favourites. Brimming with confidence, Milan opened the scoring in the first minute of play. Captain Paolo Maldini got at the end of a Pirlo free kick and volleyed in the first goal of the game. Till date, that goal remains the quickest ever scored in a Champions League final.
Goal in 50 seconds for Milan. Oh, would you believe it? Paolo Maldini, the skipper, has scored it.
When you start the game with a record like that, you just know it's going to be an epic night. This game was played in the Ataturk Olympic Stadium in Istanbul. It was the first time a European final had ever been held in Turkey, and it was turning out to be a real Turkish delight. Obviously, that very early goal left Liverpool a little devastated. I mean, who wouldn't be? But they were determined to get back into the game, and they showed some character. Just moments after they went 1-0 down, Gerrard found Cissé from a corner, but his volley was cleared. And Gerrard once again sent in a cross into the box, which found Hyypiä, but the defender's header was straight at the keeper. In the 13th minute, Liverpool very nearly went 2-0 down out of nowhere. Seedorf sent in a cross from a corner, and Crespo very nearly squeezed in a header from the near post. But luckily, Luis Garcia was there to clear the ball off the line. At this point, the job was already hard enough for Liverpool, but it got even harder when Harry Kewell picked up an injury and had to be taken off just 23 minutes in. Benitez was forced to turn to his bench so early in the game, and he brought in Vladimir Smicer. But what was obviously a forced change turned out to be a huge blessing in disguise for the Reds. You'll find out why I say that later, but as far as the first half was concerned, it was hell for Liverpool. Not long after the change, Kaká sliced Liverpool open and picked out Shevchenko, who then went on to slot the ball into the back of the net. 2-0. Oh no, the flag was up. Shevchenko was offside, so the goal didn't count. Liverpool tried to ride on their newfound hope to get back into the game, but the 2 chances Luis Garcia got, he put the ball off target. After that, momentum swung back to Milan. Kaká picked out Crespo, who tried to score, but he was offside. Then at the other end, Liverpool had a huge penalty shout after the ball struck Nesta's elbow in his 18-yard box. But the referee, who had a clear view of it, decided not to award the penalty. And before we knew it, Milan were already on the attack at the other end. This was proper end-to-end stuff here. But Milan were ready to put an end to all that. This time around, Shevchenko stayed onside, and Kaká found him with a brilliantly lifted pass. Shevchenko drove into the box and squared it to Crespo, who scored and doubled Milan's lead.
Milan score! And then Crespo gets the second goal for the Italians.
Liverpool had fought and fought after going down very early in the game, but just 6 minutes to the halftime break, they were now 2 goals down. It surely couldn't get worse than this. Oh wait, it actually could. Liverpool thought they were going to go into the break 2-0 down, but they were very wrong. With just 1 minute of normal time left in the first half, Kaka received a pass from Pirlo at the centre of the park, spun his marker, and quickly sent in a beautiful through ball for Crespo, who finished so brilliantly with an outside of the foot poke. That was perhaps the most beautiful goal of the game.
What a goal that is! What a goal that is! And Milan now playing football out of this world.
And everyone watching thought the game was wrapped up in the first half. 3-0 up at halftime in a Champions League final is a position any team would love to be in. Milan fans were already celebrating, while many Liverpool fans had already given up hope. In fact, some Liverpool supporters failed to return to the stadium after the halftime break, but those who did were very happy that they did, because the second half delivered the most insane drama we had ever seen. Benitez knew that if his team would stand any chance in that game, he would have to do something, and do it quickly.
Remember coming into the tunnel in the halftime and listening to our fans. We could hear them singing, supporting, and probably that gave us an extra motivation. They believe in us. We have to make them proud.
So, at the start of the second half, he took off a defender, Steve Finnan, and replaced him with a midfielder, Dietmar Hamann. I mean, you're already 3 goals down, what do you need 4 defenders for anyway? So, Benitez switched the formation from the 4-4-1-1 which he started with to a 3-4-2-1. This new setup allowed Gerrard to go further up the pitch with Alonso and Hamann playing as holding midfielders. And well, as simple as that might seem, that changed everything, and soon you'll see how. Anyway, Liverpool came into that second half knowing that if they would get anything out of the game, they had to score early. And you could say it was that desperation which forced Alonso to let a shot fly from 35 yards out. But it actually wasn't so far away. Shortly after that, at the other end of the pitch, Hyypiä fouled Kaka just outside the box. The resulting free kick was taken by Shevchenko, and it forced a good save from Dudek. Anyway, Liverpool was still looking for their early second half goal, and it finally came. 9 minutes into the second period, Rees sent a cross into the box, and Captain Gerrard rose highest to connect with the ball and send it into the back of the net.
It was Gerrard! Hello! Here we go! Steven Gerrard!
3-1. Benitez's idea of pushing Gerrard up the pitch was already working a treat. Everyone thought that Milan would soon take back control of the game and remain tighter at the back. But as the saying goes, when it rains it pours. So, just 2 minutes after Liverpool's first, their second came. Smicer, the forced first half change, unleashed a shot from outside the box and found the back of the net.
To Smicer! Oh! Goals in 2 minutes for Liverpool!
3-2. At this point, anybody who was sleeping before was now awake. We thought the game was over when Milan took a 3-goal lead into halftime, but Liverpool seemed to be doing the unthinkable. Just 11 minutes into the second period, they had already gotten 2 back. Could they really do it? Could they really overturn a 3-goal lead in a Champions League final? Yes, they could. Just 4 minutes after Liverpool's second goal, Gerrard was pulled down by Gattuso in the box, and this time the Reds got the penalty they wanted. Xabi Alonso stepped up to take it and Dida saved. But Alonso was quick enough to get to the ball and score from the rebound.
If this goal can go in.
Oh, saved by Dida, Xabi Alonso! Liverpool were 3-0 down 5 minutes ago.
We were just 16 minutes into the second half and Liverpool had already completely wiped off Milan's 3-goal lead. How could you even explain this? It was nothing short of a miracle. It's one thing to come back from a 3-goal lead, but to do it in the biggest club game of all, damn. We had seen nothing like this. Now all that was left was for Liverpool to finish the job. But could they? The answer was no, at least not in normal time. Milan tried to get back in the lead, but Liverpool stayed tight in the defence. Jimmy Traoré made a goal-line clearance to stop Shevchenko from scoring. Carragher made a couple very important tackles, while Kaka pretty much missed a sitter in the dying moments. So, with the game tied at 3-3, we went to extra time. And honestly, extra time was all about Milan. They had gone to penalties in their last Champions League final just 2 years prior, and they didn't want to go back there. They tried everything they could to end the game in extra time, but it just wouldn't go in for them. Shevchenko had 2 huge chances to put the game to bed, but Dudek came up with an absolutely mental double save to stop the Ukrainian. That double save was truly bonkers. Seeing that, you just got the feeling that maybe it was really Liverpool's night. Dudek stepped up and saved Liverpool there, but he still had one more job to do. The game went to penalties. Seguinho stepped up first from the LAN and he sent the ball over the bar. Meanwhile, Hammond converted the first penalty for Liverpool. I'm pretty sure Liverpool fans were trying their best not to get too excited too early, but when Dudek saved Pirlo's penalty, the roars from the crowd became so deafening. Ciso stepping up to score for Liverpool right after meant that the Reds were now 2-0 up on penalties, and they now had one hand on the trophy. Up next, Tonasson stepped up and scored Milan's first penalty of the night. But it was still all good, right? Wrong. Because just after that, Dida saved Rice's penalty, which meant that the lead had been halved. Kaka then stepped up and scored for Milan, which put pressure on Smicer to score for Liverpool and keep their lead intact. And well, he did just that, sending the goalkeeper the wrong way. So it was down to Dudek. He just needed to save Shevchenko's kick and Liverpool would be champions. And well, the striker made it really easy for him with one of the weakest penalties you'll ever see in a Champions League final. Saved, and that was it. Game over. Liverpool, who were 3 goals down at half-time, had somehow turned around to beat AC Milan and win the Champions League for the first time in over 2 decades. There was just no way anyone could properly explain what had just happened, so it was dubbed the Miracle of Istanbul. And guys, it was really a miracle. We will never see anything like this again. To come from 3 goals down in a Champions League final to win the trophy? Nah, it is never happening again. But if you enjoyed this, there are super crazy comeback stories and interesting football matches on our channel. Make sure to check them out and subscribe to see our upcoming projects.